Labour's new policies will make profiting from UK property even harder than it already is. After building a 22 property portfolio and helping hundreds of people get started in property, I know exactly how to get around these rules. So in this video, I'm going to show you what these 5 policies are, why they affect new landlords the most, and what you can do to actually continue making money from your properties. Let's start with the first change no one thinks about until they lose thousands. It happened to me recently. So I bought this 2-bed bungalow back in 2022 and something happened to me for the very first time. My tenant just stopped paying rent. Suddenly I had a problem. How do I get them out of my property? Because every month the tenant stayed, I was still paying for the mortgage with no rent coming in and was losing money every month. I had to use Section 8. That's when you take a tenant to court because they've broken the tenancy, like not paying the rent. The problem is it's slow, involves going to court, and it costs money. By the time it was sorted, months had passed and I was thousands out of pocket. And let's be honest, if that was your first property, an issue like that could knock you back even before you've started. But here's the problem. Right now, landlords still have Section 21. Section 21 means you can ask a tenant to leave when their tenancy ends without needing a reason. If the tenancy is nearly finished, Section 21 is a lot quicker than dragging things through court like I did. But under Labour, Section 21 is being scrapped. So if you're lucky and got a tenant like I did, you're stuck using the longer, more expensive Section 8 process. And that's where beginners can lose thousands, unpaid rent, legal costs, and all the stress that comes with it. So how do you protect yourself from this happening to you? Here's the reality. Not every tenant is bad. Most will pay on time and take good care of your property. But these 3 steps mean you're prepared for the rare bad apple. First one is strong referencing. Check their income, credit history, and if possible, ask for a guarantor, someone who promises to pay the rent if your tenant can't. The second thing is rent guarantee insurance. For about £30 a month, you can protect yourself against missed payments. If the worst happens, you'll still get your rent while the legal process drags on. And then the next one is if you're using a letting agent, make sure they're reputable and vet tenants properly. If you're looking to manage the tenant yourself, a site like Good Lord can handle the referencing for you. I personally think there should be a tenant database like the one landlords have, but until then, focus on these 3 things. It won't stop all risk, but it will massively reduce it. Tenants are one thing, but the next change affects your money every single month. And if you don't plan for it, you could be in trouble. Now, imagine opening a restaurant and being told you can only change prices once a year, no matter how much food or energy costs rise. If staff wages go up or your supplier doubles their prices, you can't change your prices. That's basically what Labour's rent policy means for landlords. You can't keep adjusting later, so you've got to get it right from day one. Right now, landlords have more flexibility, but this change, it locks you in for a year at the rent you set. And we've already seen this happen in Scotland where rents were frozen to help tenants, but the opposite happened. Landlords just raise rents higher at the start to cover themselves. So what should you do? Here's a simple framework you can use, and these 3 steps will save you thousands down the line. First step is set the right rent at the start. Don't underprice just to rent it out fast. Research what homes are actually renting for. Use Rightmove and Zoopla. Step 2 is buy where demand is strong. If tenants are queuing up, you've got more control of things. And step 3 is think long-term cash flow. Run your numbers with a buffer for rising mortgages and maintenance. That way, if you can't raise rents, your deal still works because you did the maths upfront. Don't stress over policies you can't control. Just plan smarter and your property will pay you for years. Now, you can plan your rent perfectly, but if you miss this next part, your first deal could lose you money before you've even got a tenant in. So a couple of years ago, landlords started to panic when new EPC rules were announced. An EPC is just a property's energy rating. A is the best, G is the worst. Right now, the minimum for renting a property out is E, but Labour wants to raise it to at least a C by 2030. For some older houses, that means new upgrades like insulation, new windows, even new boilers, potentially costing tens of thousands thousands of pounds. Lots of landlords started to sell up because they didn't have the money or patience to do the work. And that's when we started to buy more properties for ourselves and for our clients. Because in reality, not every house needed big changes. Some just needed loft insulation or new windows, a couple of thousand, not 20. That panic created opportunities, but only for people who knew what to look for. So how do you protect yourself from these changes? If you get this right up front, you won't be the one panicking later. First thing is, check the EPC rating. You can find this directly from the Rightmove listing. Look at the current rating and the potential rating. That tells you straight away how much work could be needed. Then know the big costs in advance. Loft insulation might be a few £100, double glazing £3,000 to £5,000. Then something like a wall insulation for the whole house could cost you £8,000 to £10,000. That's the red flag for beginners. So if you see that, walk away. And then just buy beginner friendly properties. Stick to houses already rated at a D or lower. Avoid end terraces if you're on a tight budget because they're usually costly to upgrade. Most properties don't need big upgrades. Do these 3 checks to spot the costly ones early and save thousands before your first tenant moves in. But that brings us to the next problem, a strategy a lot of first time landlords use for quick cash flow, but it's about to be hit the hardest. So around 2023, when interest rates and mortgages started to rise, I switched to short-term lets on Airbnb because the cash flow was higher than normal buy-to-lets. And it wasn't just me, loads of our clients jumped into it too. On paper, you could make 3 times the income off a standard buy-to-let, and to be fair, it's worked. For this reason, loads of investors across the UK have started to do short-term lets. But now, Labour wants stricter rules, things like registration, planning permission, and tighter controls on Airbnbs. And beginners chasing short-term lets for quick cash flow could be walking into a trap, because with the rules tightening, the gold rush could be coming to an end. So what do you do instead? You keep it safe. Stress test your deals. Run the numbers at 6% interest rates. If it doesn't work at that level, it's not a safe deal. Make sure it works as a buy-to-let first. Airbnb should be the bonus, not the backbone of your strategy. Focus on stability. Buy in areas with steady rents and strong demand, not places that are seasonal. And then be exit ready. If the rules change, you should still be able to rent it out or sell without losing money. That's how you protect yourself, not by chasing shiny strategies, but by keeping it safe. But it's not just your strategy. The real problem comes when you sell the property, because the next change could take a huge slice out of your profit. Let me tell you about my friend Raj. He's 38 years old. He works a 9 to 5, and after years of saving, he finally managed to buy his first property. Like a lot of beginners, he wanted to grow quickly, so he chose flipping the property. He found a little 2-bed terrace, spent £20,000 on the refurb, and planned to sell it for a £40,000 profit. On paper, that profit would have been life-changing for him. Years of savings doubled in one deal. Sounds perfect. But here's the problem. Under today's rules, he'd pay capital gains tax at 18 or 28%. Painful, but still manageable. But Labour wants to tax capital gains at the same level as income tax. That means instead of 24%, you could be paying 40% or even 45% on your profit, depending on your income. So almost half of Raj's profit would disappear to the taxman, from doubling his money to barely making 20k after tax. And it's all because of this one change. So what's a better way instead? Let's go back to Raj's deal and look at the difference side by side. So let's say Raj bought the house for £100,000, spent £20,000 on the refurb, and the new value was £160,000. If he sells, that's a sale price of £160,000. Costs are £120,000. So on paper, the profit is £40,000, but under Labour's higher capital gains tax, let's say 40%, £16,000 goes straight to the taxman. So Raj is left with £24,000 in his pocket, but he's lost the property because he's flipped it. Now let's look at refinancing, where you borrow against the higher value to pull cash out without selling the property. On a £160,000 value over here, he remortgages, pulls out £120,000, pays back the original £160,000 £20,000 mortgage and gets £20,000 refurb money back. That's £20,000 tax-free money, and because he still owns the house, he keeps earning rent and benefits from any future price increases. Side by side, flipping, it might give you more cash upfront now, but refinancing gives you nearly the same amount without paying tax, and you still get to keep the house. That's how beginners build lasting wealth without watching their profit disappear in taxes. Now, you can work around the new policies, but tax will always be one of your biggest costs. In this video, I'll show you how to keep more of what you make, so I'll see you over there.